Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. So if you are new here, my name is Phoebe Hagan, IFBB Bikini Pro from the UK, currently living in Dubai. Now, you will see this is a new series called Ask an IFBB Pro. If I'm honest, I've wanted to start this type of series for a very long time now. I love giving you guys informative information, but I've never known how to kind of give it across. So I decided to make a YouTube series called Ask an IFBB Pro, so you can ask me, an IFBB Pro, anything that you want to do with training, mentality, nutrition, anything like that. I've already got bunch of questions that you guys have already asked me on my Instagram, and if you wanted to ask me any more questions, comment down below. What I wanted to kind of give you guys is just a little bit more of a longer answer to questions that you want answered pretty much. So the first question is, which is actually a very good one, I'm really happy with this. So what is the difference between a pro prep and an amateur prep? Now, I had a really long, hard think about this one because I wanted to obviously make sure that I feel like it was the correct answer. I generally feel like there's a lot difference between a pro and an amateur prep. And this isn't me being like professionals are better than amateurs or anything like that. In my opinion, the difference between professionals and amateurs is literally they've had a lot more experience on stage, they have a lot more knowledge because they've just experienced more within the bodybuilding world, or just in the professional world in general. That's why you're a professional. So the reason I wanted to ask this question is because a lot of people always think like, okay, what's the difference between the two? What I found when I was an amateur was I didn't really, in terms of training and stuff, my mentality towards training was very different to what it is now. When I was started getting into bodybuilding, I was training progressive overload with everything, and my mentality towards training was I need to train everything. There's nothing specific I need to do with my body, I just need to do as much as I can. Whereas now I'm a professional, I know from a lot of experience on stage what specifically I need to actually work on and what I don't need to work on. So for example, I don't train my upper body much at all anymore because I don't need to develop it. But when I was an amateur, I was training like 3 times or 4 times a week, which I didn't need to. So now with being a professional, you have that little bit more detail that goes into your training, a little bit more detail that goes into your prep because you know what needs to be worked on, if that makes sense. Another kind of example is that I would be very, very persistent on training heavy with everything. Obviously, don't get me wrong, training progressive overload is a very good way, obviously, of building muscle. It is a great way of building muscle, but you don't need to do that with every single exercise and all the time, especially for my class, which is bikini. So as a professional, you then structure around your training a lot more, just doing what needs to be done, not kind of doing too much. Do you know what I mean? When it comes to mentality, I think that is the main difference between a professional and an amateur, in my opinion, because a professional mindset, for me anyway, from my experience, was I will do whatever is necessary and whatever is needed to get to where I need to be. And I think the same mentality now is more picked up in amateurs now in 2021 versus when I was an amateur in 2016. My mentality was very different to then. It was like, oh, I want to have fun, I want to do this, I still want to train heavy, I still want to do this. You don't learn about sacrifice or how much you need to sacrifice until, you know, you've experienced it yourself in terms of what you actually need to do. So I think mentality towards bodybuilding is definitely a big difference between professional and amateur, like just a prep in general. I personally feel like nutrition is pretty much the same because everybody's different in terms of like how much they need to eat. It's not like pros will eat less because they're now a professional or anything like that. So nutrition pretty much stays the same, but I think the main 2 key things that are very different are your training structure, because you'll have a lot more detail and more in-depth feedback because you've done more shows, and your mentality. Your mentality becomes a lot stronger the more experience you have on stage, I find. I found that my mentality from when I started is way stronger because of the amount I've done within the bodybuilding world, how many shows I've done, all that type of thing, what I've learned, and that's made me who I am as a professional, if that makes sense. So I don't think there's a specific difference between the two in terms of like a professional prep and an amateur prep in terms of they coach you differently, but it's the mentality you have as a person. So personally for me, I think the difference between a pro and an amateur prep is experience, knowledge, and generally just mentality. the more you go through, the more you experience, the stronger it makes your mind. And I think that's what makes you a professional. Do you know what I mean? Versus it being the status itself. You could turn pro. I know loads of people that have literally turned pro within, you know, their first show. There was a girl that I was chatting to. She did a show in Alicante that had just gone this weekend, and it was her first ever show, and she's just turned pro. Like, that's incredible. But what makes her a professional is the experiences she goes through, the mentality she has as a professional, and how she moves forward with that. Just because you have the status doesn't make you a professional. You need to try and represent the sport as what you want it to be. To be a professional, you want to represent the sport well. That's what makes you a professional, in my opinion. So that's pretty much what I think the difference between a professional and an amateur prep is. So I really enjoy doing these types of things. I think it's really cool. It's just a quick little video kind of giving you a little bit more in-depth information of kind of like what I think pretty much with these questions. So if you have any interesting questions or anything like that that you want to ask me, please leave a comment down below just asking me the questions. Also ask me on my Instagram and stuff. I will be noting all of these down, and I'm going to try and be doing these videos once a week alongside my relentless video, meaning there will be 2 videos a week. I will try and get 2 videos out a week. So, because I want to be a lot more on it with my YouTube game, as I always say, but I'm actually going to be so much more on it this time. So let me know if you have any other questions, put them down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe to my channel because it really helps support my channel. And I wanted to get to 10,000 followers by the time we hit Arnold's, which is 6.5 weeks, so maybe not. So I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.